Welcome everyone, this is AndresRestart. So have you guys noticed that there is this geoglyph on this big hill in Turffield in Pokemon Sword and Shield? Sure, we saw it in the first trailer for Pokemon Sword and Shield, and we all kind of assumed that it was depicting a big, powerful, legendary Pokemon. Well, now Pokemon Sword and Shield is out, and we've played through the entirety of the game and seen all of its story and lore, at least what Game Freak wants us to see at this point in time. And we still don't know what that geoglyph is depicting. Now keep in mind, what I'm about to talk about will include some spoilers of a late game legendary Pokemon. We will talk about the other legendary Pokemon in the game as well, and we also will be bringing up a Pokemon that will be coming out later on that we only know about now because of a data mine. So if you don't want to be spoiled, you've been warned. But here's the deal. A lot of us assumed that that geoglyph on the hill was actually depicting a Dynamax Pokemon. But not just any Dynamax Pokemon, the source for all Dynamax Pokemon. We thought it was the big third legendary for the game. And as it turns out, there are 3 legendary Pokemon, Zacian and Zamazenta, and a third one that is the big third legendary Pokemon, and it just so happens that it is the source of Dynamax energy. And it has 2 different forms, one cool looking space dragon form, and another that looks like a giant clawy, cloudy UFO thing that is ginormous and functions as an endgame boss. Neither of these forms look even remotely close to the shape depicted on the hill in Turffield. We don't know what that geoglyph is. It doesn't really match up. So then, what could it be? We all sort of figured that this geoglyph in Turffield was actually a nod towards a real-life geoglyph in England, the Cerne Abbas Giant. And what's interesting about the Cerne Abbas Giant is that there's folklore that speaks of a legend of a giant that roamed the land at some point. And the reason why I find that really interesting is because there's actually a Pokemon that hasn't come out yet in Pokemon Sword and Shield, but we know is in the game because of a data mine that has a description that sounds very similar. And this Pokemon is Melmetal, but not just a normal Melmetal, but a Gigantamax Melmetal. So this is the sword description for a Gigantamax Melmetal. In a distant land, there are legends about a Cyclopean giant. In fact, the giant was a Melmetal that was flooded with Gigantamax energy. And here's how it's supposed to look. Now admittedly, it doesn't look quite like this geoglyph in Turffield, but there are some similarities. Firstly, within the Melmetal line, they have hexagonal heads. What does the head look like? A hexagonal head with something in the middle. And on top of that, it has what looks to be some sort of lightning rod electrical kind of tail. Meltan and Melmetal have an electrical kind of tail. But what's even more interesting is that there's a whole bunch of other little creatures surrounding this giant creature on the hill. They all have roundish little heads with something in the middle, and their bodies seem to be very fluid, kind of like Meltan. So could it be that this is a depiction of a giant Gigantamax Melmetal, and there's a whole bunch of Meltan surrounding it? It kind of makes sense because you need a lot of Meltan to be put together to make a Melmetal. Now again, the shape doesn't match up exactly, but this shape in my opinion has a lot more similarities to this Gigantamax Melmetal as opposed to Eternatus. So maybe there's going to be an event coming really soon in Pokemon Sword and Shield where we will see a Gigantamax Melmetal, and we will learn a little bit more about what this geoglyph in Turffield is supposed to mean. Now there's another possibility, actually there's probably many other possibilities, but another possibility that comes to mind is that there will be another form for Eternatus, and we won't see that form until the next version of Pokemon Sword and Shield comes out. Maybe it's going to be Ultra Pokemon Sword and Shield or Pokemon Bow, whatever the sequel or third version for Pokemon Sword and Shield will be. Maybe then we will get an expanded story on who exactly or what exactly Eternatus could be, and maybe we'll have a third form that will more closely resemble the geoglyph in Turffield. And there's actually one more possibility that comes to mind before I end things here, and that is the Gigantamax form for Toxtricity, another form that has not come out yet, just like Gigantamax Melmetal. If you take a look at its tail, it does very closely resemble the tail for this geoglyph in Turffield. Now after going over some of the possibilities and taking another look at the hill, that geoglyph there in Turffield, I have to say that I don't feel really confident in saying that for sure it is the Gigantamax version of Melmetal. There are some similarities for sure, but not entirely. There are some key differences, like those arms, for example. They don't really match up even remotely close to the traditional Gigantamax Melmetal, and while there may be kind of like an electrical kind of tail for Meltan and Melmetal, the tail we are seeing on this Geoglyph is much larger and it much more closely resembles Toxtricity. But at the same time, Toxtricity doesn't really look anything like this creature either. And this creature that's being represented on the hill, again, going back to my original point, looks nothing like either of the two forms for Eternatus. So either A, this is a very, very abstract depiction of either Gigantamax Melmetal or Toxtricity, or there's another Pokemon that we will see at some point in the future for this generation. That's my bet, at least. It's one of those two things. But what do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, everyone, this is AndresRestart. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I'll see you all really soon. Take care. Have a good one.